my parakeet right here, JD. Maybe I'll give the origin of his name one day, but not now. Entertaining, so I'm just gonna get him. Come on, up. There you go. Good boy. And you're gonna watch him eat the banana. It's gonna be exciting. I hope it's exciting.
The story that I'm about to say, it impacted me more than I thought it would. Again, I don't have anything written down, so I'm just trying to remember it off the top of my head. Sophomore year, May of 2017. I was living at home, not where I live right now. I've always wanted a pet. I wanted a pet for a very, very long time. Like any sort of animal. I really wasn't too picky. Everyone in my family, besides people who are like my age, they just don't like animals. They see them as animals. They don't really see them as companions. I had 7 different pets throughout my time. So yeah, a lot of animals, but they all came and went very, very quickly. I was doing a lot of research before making my decision. I was like, Ma, I want a bird. And she was like, okay. Like, she actually said yes. And it surprised me. Like, I didn't think she was going to say yes, but she did. Anyone who's going to get a bird, I highly recommend doing research. They're very different from regular animals. They have their own rules. I only got one. That one is something I kind of regret. I kind of wish I got 2. Birds like being with groups. But I wanted one because I wanted to hand tame it. So I was like, okay, fine, I'll just get one and I'll make sure I spend as much time with it as possible. I got it at the perfect time because I was doing summer school. And summer school doesn't require as much commitment as a regular semester of school. A lot of that was just writing essays on the computer. So I actually was training my bird to be on my shoulder, marathoning scrubs. In that show, they wear blue scrubs. So I was like, I'm gonna name it JD. I still think it's a super awesome name. And I was like, I wanted to get a green bird and name it Turk. And so I was planning on getting a second bird at some point, but it just never came to be. The summer flew by really quickly, but I spent a lot of time with my bird. I made sure he was hand tamed. I made sure I spent a lot of time with him. The weather was nice. I got to keep the windows open. Every time the windows were open, I could hear other birds. JD would sing along, and I enjoyed hearing him singing. He would do that a lot in the morning. I had him on my shoulder every time I was playing a game, so it was just great. It was a great summer. It was very relaxing. One way I knew if JD liked being around me, he would nibble on me, and I was growing facial hair. And then one way you knew he just didn't want to be around anyone, he'd just fly back to his cage. And he wouldn't fly into his cage, he would fly on top of his cage. And the funny thing about the cage was that I got way too big of a cage. I wanted a big cage so that he'd be comfortable and he could fly around and I could put toys in there, but his cage was way too big. And I put it on top of my dresser, and I could just barely reach the tippy top. He would bite me sometimes. And one thing you gotta learn when you're dealing with a bird is that if they bite you, try not to get mad. Leave it in his cage, give it some time, and hopefully things will turn around. Maybe have some food in your hand. Giving him snacks too. That was something I learned a lot. He loves fruits. I learned that parakeets love bananas, so I made sure I always had bananas around. But oh my god, such a messy eater when it came to bananas. I really don't know why. Teaching him tricks, that was also kind of hard. Like I said, birds are very fickle. When it comes to training them, you can't really train them for a long period of time. Anything longer than 30 minutes, he would just want to fly back to his cage. Just in general, if I took him to another room, he wouldn't want to be in there for a very long time. I tried getting him used to being in the living room. He didn't really like the living room very much, so he would fly away very often. There was one time where he flew and I had no idea where he went. Years and years ago, we went to a museum and we got some wooden butterflies and we put them super high up, and JD was on top of that butterfly. He was very scared of everything. New friends too, if I ever brought them over, he wouldn't want to be on their finger. Every time I had homework, I would always want to do homework at home. I never tried to stay late. I wanted to be around him. I was also doing forensics, public speaking, and that required me to leave out of town some days to do some tournaments. I would ask my parents, can you just watch him clean his water and all that stuff? But they really didn't check up on him ever. They just kept him in his room, and it made me sad. He was just alone in there, and I didn't want that to happen. It was sad that I was the only one that wanted to be around him, but I tried my best. I really did try my best, and I really did enjoy having him around. And it was a challenge, and learning stuff about him was interesting. I always appreciated everything about him. He was kind of like a brat. He was very bratty, and maybe that's just the personality of birds, but I appreciated just his personality. I really did. March or April, I don't remember which month, but 2018, my house caught on fire. Luckily, it wasn't anywhere near JD, and it was only a specific part of the house. The fire department got into the house before it would spread, but it was an electrical fire, and there was no electricity in the house, so we had to move. So I took JD to my friend's house. There was two issues with having JD at my grandma's house. One, my grandma really doesn't like animals either. Like, she's probably the worst when it comes to animals. The apartment is very tiny, and you can't have birds near smoke. And my grandma cooks all the time. So I took JD to my friend's house. He had two dogs, and I was afraid that, the dogs maybe wouldn't like him or something like that. But I had no other choice, and they were very understanding of that situation. So I put him there, and then it had to be in my friend Jeremy's room so that the dogs wouldn't be there necessarily, just in case. And it seemed to go well. My friend Jeremy seemed to have liked JD. Really, the only issue was that he was a little bit too rough when it came to petting him, and you gotta be really delicate with tiny birds. Other than that, he did a good job. He gave him food and treats and cleaned the cage. He took care of him, gave him company. Finally, JD had another friend, so that made me happy. It really did. And then May came around, and I got a phone call. Said he was gone. It was the worst time to get that phone call, because a week before, it was finally I had no homework. So my mom was like, oh, maybe you should go to Jeremy's house to see JD. And I was like, no, I didn't want to go to a friend's house. I just wanted to stay home. That was the last weekend I could have seen him. I don't know what happened. I have no idea. I wasn't there. I'm not mad at anyone for that situation. That situation makes me more like myself, like I could have done better or something like that. But, there was nothing I could have done. I only had a part-time job. I worked 8 hours a week, so I couldn't move anywhere. And I had no house. I wasn't really emotional around that time. And I wasn't emotional about it for a very long time. It's only been bothering me recently. Just how much I miss him. And how much of a good friend he was. I took him for granted. One time I took him for granted. And it was the absolute worst time to do that. I tried really hard not to drop the ball. I tried really hard. And that one time I did. That's all I can say. And I did my best to make sure he was happy. I really did. I really tried my best. So, I don't know if that's...
Is a little bit difficult, but the one thing I've managed him to get is a banana. Look at that. Look at that. He really wants this banana right now. Pushing a banana. Oh, come on. Look at that. Okay. Take one more big bite. There you go. Good boy. Come on. There you go. Here, have a little piece as a reward. That is just not a pretty sight. He demolished it. Yeah, I just wanted to show you how cute it is for a parakeet to eat a banana.